Hi, welcome to class number 2 of the Wisdom School Master Series, Spiritual Growth Equals Business Growth. I'm Rebecca Skeel, and I want to thank you for carving out some time in your day to watch this video, class number 2. I hope you have watched class number 1, and if you haven't, I might want to suggest you go back and pick it up. It's called The Big Why, and it really talks more about my story and also why I'm presenting this master class series. And we also want to start with the big why. Why are you doing what you're doing? The challenges of that. And when you get into the challenge, what is the solution for you? And that's really what this series is about. Not too many people talk about how to bring the spirit into business or the business into our spiritual growth. And yet, those of us who have a heart blazing call, a purpose, a vision, our great work that we want to bring out in the world, it's really important that we talk about this and we know kind of the signposts along the way and what we will be challenged with and also some solutions that I have found in walking my journey for the last 30 years and also working with hundreds of people that are of this, let's say this camp. I talk about the camps in class number 1. So today's class is going to be entitled Commitment and Compassion. Commitment and compassion. You know, there are a lot of best practices out there for business growth, marketing, branding, ways to grow your business, launch your product, whatever. And yet you really must find what works for you and also what works for the people you are to work with. And this was my journey. When I started out 10 years ago, I was very much attracted to the bright, shiny objects, to the promises of knowing the 3 myths, of the fail-safe protocol or blueprint, the super simple way, the way that I can launch something and make lots of money the first time, the 3 secrets. I was very much attracted to that. Maybe you are or were too. And I learned a lot doing that. I learned a lot signing up for those programs. I learned a lot joining those masterminds. I learned a lot being in those coaching programs. What I learned was that, number 1, there are no shortcuts. And number 2, there are no secret sauce that you need to have. If we're in the business of bringing forth our big vision and bringing it into a business, it takes commitment, and there are no shortcuts. And the challenge to that for many of us is that we give up. And we give up on ourselves. And sometimes we walk away. We walk away from that heart-blazing call. I think the kind of languaging that a lot of the online programs, or maybe they end up in your inbox, use are really set this up. Not that I'm necessarily looking outside for some kind of excuse, but I do believe that when we hear that there are secrets or there are myths, or this is a fast approach, or this is how you can make 6 figures in 3 months, or this is how you can fill your teleclass in a really simple, fast way, or whatever it is, and that doesn't happen or doesn't work for you, it doesn't appeal to the people that you are working with, I think that sets up a feeling of giving up. Oh, wow, I must be doing something wrong. I must not have what it takes. People know how to do this, I don't. And I don't know how to find what works. So I start off there because commitment is something that is about you with you. Now, maybe I should just start off with this question and begin here and ask you, how do you feel about commitment? When I say commitment, what comes up for you? Is that something like, yes, I know what that is? Or it's like, whoa, wait a minute. I can be committed to others. I can be committed to my clients. I can be committed to my customers. I can be committed to my business. I show up every day. I open those doors. I turn on those lights. I pay those bills. But what is commitment to me? And that's the kind of commitment that I want to say makes all the difference in the long run. Because when we are on a path and a journey of spiritual growth and business growth, there are all manner of challenges that come up inside of us, inside of you, that will derail us, that will make us give up in very little ways along the way. Little tiny give up here, little tiny give up there, little tiny give up there. And eventually, those areas of giving up come back like a tsunami. And at times that we really don't want them to come back. Okay, so let's get a little bit more practical here, all right? Because that's what I want. I want this series to be practical, even though I'm talking about spiritual growth equals business growth. I want it to be practical. So again, I suggested that maybe you want to stop the video and write a few sentences or questions or comments and paragraphs about what is commitment to you. But here's some other questions I'd like you to answer or just journal about. Where are my questions? I've got some notes down here. Oh, there they are. Okay. When you, or what do you do inside yourself when you meet someone, maybe very similar field that you're in, and you compare yourself to them? What do you do inside yourself? Are you still committed? What happens inside when you don't fill that class, when you don't make your revenue goal for the month or the quarter, when you feel like an imposter at that networking meeting? What do you do inside yourself? Are you still committed? How do you sabotage yourself? Or do you sabotage yourself? When you meet someone for the first time, a potential client, potential customer, do you play small? Do you hide out? Do you not really come forward truly with who you are? Do you stay committed? Okay. So what does it mean to be committed to oneself? And why is that important in spiritual growth equals business growth? Well, here's my case study. We're going to call her Pam. Pam was in the corporate world. She was working for an agency that was doing a lot of good for families and children in need, in crisis. And she'd been working for them for many years, for about 20. And she loved her work. She loved the work that she did. However, things were not going great in the corporate world, in the agency world. The culture, the environment of the agency had become very stressful, very fear-based, very competitive, not supportive at all, where she was used to maybe working on a team approach. All of a sudden, the team was not supporting each other. They were kind of, in their own camps, protecting their own job kind of thing. And of course, it came from the boss. The boss that she'd had before was really aligned with her vision. This boss was not. And the more she worked in this agency, the more depressed she got, the more energy she lost, and she knew she had to get out of the corporate agency world. And she'd always had a dream of running her own business, opening her own practice, working with families and children the way she wanted to work with them outside the corporate agency. And yet, when she approached that opportunity, she was frozen. She talked about how the parts inside of her felt so volatile and so scary. She had no idea how to work with herself. She had no idea how to face these parts. What was she supposed to do with these parts inside of her that just completely reacted, exploded on her in all kinds of manner of fear and self-doubt and not trusting, and am I going to make money, and I'm going to be in the poorhouse, and I'll lose my house, and la 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 la, on and on, I'll never get clients, and so on and so forth. Yeah. Moving from working in a corporate setting to working for yourself, and I work with a lot of people that make that transition. There is a way to do this, not only steps in the world that you want to set up for yourself, being very practical about it, your exit strategy that you want to use for yourself and how to follow that, but also how to work with oneself. And this is the spiritual growth aspect. And what I want to talk about is self-compassion. When I began to work with Pam, that's where we started. How was she going to be compassionate, or how did she even going to work with these parts? And what was compassion, self-compassion, going to do for her in being able to even approach some of these very scary, volatile parts inside of her? Well, that's what self-compassion does. When we learn how to open our heart to ourselves and work with parts that just seem so over the top, or so angry, or so afraid, or so despairing, or so whatever, and we can begin to hold them in a loving, non-judgmental, compassionate way, all manner of inner shifts begin to happen. All manner of openings begin to open up inside of us. And where there was no space, all of a sudden there's space. Where there was no wiggle room, all of a sudden there's this wide open expansion. Where there was no loving, no acceptance, no comfort, all of a sudden there's so much comfort and loving and acceptance and rest present. So that's what Pam did. She started working with herself in a very compassionate way, learned a lot of the skills that I teach in my wisdom school, and gradually these volatile parts became calmer. They even became allies. It was like gathering the family, gathering the lost children, gathering the parts of us that we reject and abandoned a long time ago, really beginning to feel that inner support, that inner alignment, that inner steadiness and anchoring that we get when all of our parts come in alignment and come home, if you will. So that's what she did. She started her own practice. I want to say today it is successful, it is thriving. She is seen as one of the foremost authority or experts in the city as someone who works in this field. And she continues to work with herself in a very compassionate way. And guess what? She also teaches her clients how to do the same. So self-compassion, like self-acceptance, when I talked about it in the first class, are spiritual tools that begin to unlock all manner of possibilities in our life and bring us to more peace and expansion, and also what we're really truly looking for. Because we can be successful and not fulfilled, but when we're fulfilled, we are successful. So that's the solution, I would like to say, to the challenge or the problem of giving up too soon on ourself. Even if we have not given up on what we're doing in the world, even if we're going to one more networking meeting or one more conference, or we're opening the storefront one more day or one more month, or we're giving it till the end of the year or whatever. Yes, those things happen where we want to say, I need to throw in the towel. But I'd like to suggest that when we can work with ourselves in a compassionate way, all kinds of new possibilities that we didn't even know were there begin to open up. They begin to open up in the world. The universe begins to bring them to us, and also inside ourselves. Commitment and compassion. Okay, so that's class number 2 in this Wisdom School. Spiritual growth equals business growth. And I want to say at the end of my series, I am going to talk about the Wisdom School. I am going to talk about how you can begin to learn these tools for yourself and deepen your spiritual growth for yourself. If you're already, on a spiritual path and have done a lot of work, and you know that to grow your business more, you need to get bigger. You need to expand who you are. You need to work on areas that have been self-sabotaging for you. Okay, so until class number 3, watch your inbox. It'll be coming soon. Again, thank you for spending this time with this video and with me, because I've really enjoyed being with you. Bye for now.